Welcome to the March 12th, 2019 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
This is Yann.
Whoa. First time.
A new challenger appears.
Uh-oh, here comes a new challenger.
So this is our longtime friend, Yann. She's a friend of the show and pretty much everybody who's on it. And she wanted to be on the show for the week here. So please, everybody, give her a warm welcome, not like you usually give us. And
hold on, wait. And I think the warm welcome will be over about now.
Right about...
Every kid's movie ever from the 90s.
Follow the bouncing ball. But yeah, there's a lot less drama this week. I thought there would be more. But yeah, there's not nearly the reaction that...
yeah, how many games of questionable content can Spike Chunsoft possibly announce in a row?
Apparently none.
I was going to say, I guess just one last week. It's fine.
Yeah. So, we do have some other stuff going on, but, it's lower stakes, that's for sure. So, let's see. Right off the top, probably the biggest news that I saw this whole...
threw me when I heard about this.
This whole week is that, there is an unreleased NES game that has been found, and they actually just digitized it as we speak. So for the first time, it got dumped. So you will be able to find a ROM of this online. So this is a game that featured WCW wrestlers, but it was actually what the WCW turned into. So the name of the wrestling team or wrestling championship is UWC, and this was a game made by Seta. So this was going to be an early NES game, and it was going to be made by a Japanese company. It looks very simplistic. It doesn't look like one of the better titles, but I'm sure we'll be able to figure this out. Frank Cifaldi of Backbone Entertainment and Digital Eclipse fame, who helped do the Mega Man Legacy Collection and the Disney Afternoon Collection. And many other things. Lotus, I don't know if you remember this, and Yann, you might remember this too. There was an annotated, really awesome video of Gimmick online on YouTube.
No, I've never seen it. The only Gimmick I've ever seen is speedruns. Okay,
well there's a really good Gimmick video that's annotated by Frank Cifaldi where he basically goes, oh, this enemy's unique. And all those other kinds of things. I don't think I saw the
video on it, but I think I saw him tweet out something about it, like, oh man, this takes me back or whatever. Like, this was way back in the day.
So he's a really big proponent of video game preservation, so he helped acquire this game to be digitized and preserved for good. So this was owned by a private collector.
Well, what I find to be most fascinating about this is the fact that it's an official wrestling game, which means that you can find... like real people, like which wrestlers are in this game? It's a different take.
It has real people in it. Sting's in it. Let me see here. The Road Warriors, who were very visible.
I forgot I don't know if I'm thinking the right people. Were the Road Warriors like the actual Mad Max looking guys, or was that a different team?
Yes, okay. You're exactly right. The Road Warriors were unmistakably them. Ric Flair's in it.
Wow.
So yeah, so there are some famous wrestlers that you will know from today. So this was going to be a real game, but unfortunately did not get released for one reason or another. More than likely because the wrestling rights changed hands maybe when it changed to WCW. There was a WCW game later on called WCW Wrestling, which had the Road Warriors on the cover. But yeah, this was way before they were really popular, back in the late 90s or mid 90s, with the Attitude Era and that kind of thing going on. But this is still pretty neat. This is like a complete game too. It's like it just didn't get released, and it has real wrestlers in it, so it's pretty neat. I don't know if you ever played any wrestling games, Yann. Have you?
I'm not really familiar with wrestling games per se, but
it's fun to fart around with, right?
Yeah, like create a character.
Oh yeah, that's always the best,
especially with the newer games where they're like higher quality creative characters.
I really like the create a character in the Ultimate Muscle game for the GameCube. That one's really good. I enjoyed that. This is another pretty big announcement, I would say. Nintendo announced a new LABO set, and this one's going to be involving VR. Nobody knows what kind of content they're going to be included in the package. They're going to do a slightly smaller VR set too, for maybe little kids if they want to buy like a cheaper set. It's only $40, but the main set is $80, and it includes something like 6 different like VR attachments that you can use. It's really neat. One of them looks like a bird that you like flap the wings of while you're using it. It's weird. It's actually pretty cool. Some people are speculating that maybe they might want to put some Virtual Boy ports on there, or at least some mini games. But it's kind of cool. I am a fan of LABO. I have all 3 sets so far, and I always thought it was a really neat idea. But your mileage may vary on whether you're interested in this, but I think Nintendo's always good with coming out with, toy-like things. So I think it's pretty cool. And in the same line, a Virtual Boy flashcart was finally announced. Now, this is a fully functional one. The current one has very severe limitations. It can only fit official games on it, therefore it cannot fit the hack that somebody made of the fan cartridge that somebody released of the Street Fighter game on Virtual Boy. So previously, that game could only be played on emulators, or if somebody had made you a cart and programmed it.
I've always wanted to go blind playing Street Fighter.
It's a beautiful looking game. I don't know if you ever played it. They had it at Too Many Games one time. At the Stone Age Gamer.
Ever played was like a couple minutes of the Wario game, which was pretty cool actually. But like, again, you're gonna break your neck and or eyes playing it.
Well, now you can consoleize them very easily.
Thank God, yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But this is really neat. This is great news. Also, the current cart can only hold 1 game at a time on it, and you have to reflash it. So this is like a fully fledged, like EverDrive-like flash cart that can hold all of the entire library plus all of the homebrew and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It can probably also back up saves, which the current one cannot as well. Gotcha. So if you were, let's say, if you had flashed Wario Land on the current one, and you only played halfway through it, when you put a new game on it, you would lose your save. So that's very inconvenient. It was cool that the current one existed, but it's been a long time coming that a fully featured one should be coming out. So this should be great. So I can't wait until that. I'm definitely going to get that, especially I have a VGA out mod that needs to be installed on my Virtual Boy, but this will be a great accompaniment. And I can plug it into the OSSC. That'll be pretty fun. So next thing is, this is interesting. I did not expect this. Sony announced that they are releasing a remote play app for iOS devices for PS4. That's really interesting.
That is really interesting, I have to say. Because I initially use my Vita to do remote play every once in a while.
And that works well, unless you want to use your L2 or R2 buttons, really.
Right. Like, there are certain games I've used before where it's quite an inconvenience for anything that's R2, L2, just because it uses touchpad in the back. So, with that in mind, I can kind of get why they want to put it for the iOS, but at the same time, as you can see, there will be no buttons. It will be one of the touchscreen. Like, it will be on the pad. Yeah,
you're absolutely correct. It does not have controller functionality. So it is touchpad. It is touchscreen only. So like a virtual touchscreen. So what I'm gonna say here is that just like you were getting at, this kind of remote play is going to be used for mainly media, for playing like movies and Netflix off of it. And also things like visual novels or like simple RPGs where you don't have to use camera controls. I think you can expect, to play something like, Steins Gate or one of the Nonary games or the Danganronpa games on the remote play service, No.
But I kind of like how Sony is kind of, I guess, branching off into other things. But unfortunately, the Vita was, thrown on the wayside, I want to say. But I think this would be good for people with, iPads, iPhones.
Yeah, I think they might. It might be a precursor to maybe some other features that they might add at a later time. But it's kind of cool. I like it better than not having it. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
It's option.
Yeah, exactly. It's not probably a feature I'm going to use. I mean, I do have iOS devices, but it's I don't use them very much, and I don't use them for gaming very often because they're just not the best. But it's cool. I'm sure somebody will get a use out of it because there are definitely people who use this kind of thing. So, next thing here is there is a 3DS exclusive, Alliance Alive, which is coming to PS4, Switch, and PC. Do any of you guys know about Alliance Alive?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So, Alliance Alive is a spiritual successor to Legend of Legacy. I don't know if you ever heard of that. That's another 3DS RPG. The scenario was written by the Suikoden series guy,
okay.
Yoshitaka Murayama, and Legend of Legacy was made by a lot of people who made the Saga games. So it's kind of like a spiritual successor to the Saga games in a way. It got okay reviews, I would say, when it came out, but it's mostly an unusual RPG. So if you like the off the beaten path kind of games, it's good that it's being taken off of the 3DS and put on a system that can do TV capabilities and all that stuff. Sure. I always like it when 3DS games and any other portable games make the leap. Especially plenty of 3DS games have not been ported elsewhere, so this is a good thing. I probably will not pick it up at this point because I made a recent vow to not pick up RPGs I know I'm not going to play, and I will not play this one. And that's just because I made a promise to myself to only play RPGs that are like the cream of the crop. Like, I'm not going to waste my time with a mediocre RPG or even like a pretty good one. I'm going to beat like the best of the best, and that's it. Because I don't have the time. Does that make any sense?
No. That totally makes sense. Like
I'm only going to play Persona 3, Persona 4, that kind of thing. You know, that they're considered like the best of their types. You know, I'm only going to play, you know, Final Fantasy 12 and 10, and you know, things like that. And you know, the classics like, you know, Final Fantasy 6 I still haven't played, so I'll go back and play that. Oh yeah, but Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest.
I genuinely like that game, but like,
so do I.
Yeah, that's not a
it's not an essential.
That is certainly not. Like, that's basically like, I played it when I was a kid, therefore I like it kind of game.
Yeah. So this was a big surprise. Activision Blizzard has made a release on GOG with the original Diablo.
Real shock, yeah.
With the original Diablo, and they promised Warcraft 1 and 2 later on.
That's what makes me particularly excited. Like, Diablo is honestly the bigger deal, but I don't care about Diablo. But I have a history with Warcraft 1 and 2, so
I love Warcraft 1 and 2.
So I'm super interested in those.
Warcraft 2 was one of my very first PC games that I played when we got a Windows PC. So
those games I don't think were ever ported, so this is quite nice.
There was a Warcraft.
This was like on PS1 or something.
Yeah, PS1. Yeah,
but like, for PC though, it was like the Windows 95 version or nothing.
Yeah, and Diablo 1 was also on PlayStation 1.
Yeah, PS1, yeah.
But don't play that. Play this.
Yeah.
Also, curiously missing from the schedule. So, I don't know if you knew this or not, but there were some previous announcements that they made saying that like Warcraft 3 was getting like an official like full-blown remake rather than just like a, you know, like a
port or something.
A fix-up for modern consoles, like, you know, this release of Diablo and Warcraft 1 and 2. So it's getting a full-blown remake, kind of like StarCraft did.
Mm-hmm.
StarCraft got a full-blown remake in the new engine. So they're doing that, and that's really cool to hear because Warcraft 3 is probably the best game in the series.
Yeah, I've never played it, but from what I've heard, people really like it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one because I haven't played it either, but I know a lot about it, and the stuff that they added was like really crucial and very influential in this type of game.
Speaking of crucial and influential, like talking about quality of life updates, have you ever played Warcraft 1?
No, I only played 2.
Like, if you play Warcraft 1, okay, this is how the game plays. But if you play 2, it's hard to go back to 1. Because, like, you have to build roads before you can build buildings next to them. It's kind of frustrating.
Oh, like SimCity. Jeez.
Yeah, like, whereas Warcraft 2 and onward, you can just put shit wherever you want. It's so much more convenient, even though in real life that'd be horrible, but, like, video games.
Yeah, and Warcraft 2 also allowed you to play as both races. I think you could only play as Alliance, right?
I think so. And Warcraft 2 was interesting. Warcraft 1. It never even really occurred to me because I didn't know the lore of Warcraft, but Warcraft 2 is what happens when the humans, like the Alliance, lose the war.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of wondering, like, this is the second game, right? Like, what happened? Didn't we win in the first game? Like, no, we did not. Like, oh.
Yeah. That there was a string of games that were kind of like that. Like, was it Star Control?
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that one. By the way, regarding Warcraft 2 coming to GOG, I really wonder if they're going to go all out and do Beyond the Dark Portal as well. Because they had legendary characters in that, like named characters.
I don't think there's a chance. I don't think there's a chance of them not releasing them without their expansions.
Expansion. That would be great because, like, I dabbled in that back in the day, but I remember thinking it was super cool, like a super high level, like a prestige class of whatever, like a knight or a death knight or something. It was super interesting.
Yeah, when GOG gets games, they typically get the whole shebang.
Or at least give you the option to pay for the deluxe edition or something.
Yeah, I can't think of any specific instance where like an expansion didn't show up, and if there is, there must be because of some kind of rights issue.
Mm-hmm.
But every other game that I can think of has all of its expansions on there. I can't think of a single game that doesn't have it, and if I'm sure there's something on there that is missing an expansion or two, but it's very obscure.
Yeah.
If that's the case. So that's really neat, but conspicuously missing from any of the conversation is that there is no mention of Diablo 2 anywhere. So, and that is probably their most popular game pre World of Warcraft.
And there's not even any mention of rock and roll racing either. This is bullshit.
Actually, you can download all of their older titles from before Warcraft 1 still off of their launcher. You can download for free Lost Vikings, Rock and Roll Racing, and
Rock and Roll Racing is allowed though.
They changed the music, I think, to be lame.
I was gonna say no way. Okay, but
and
Lost Vikings is pretty cool.
Yeah, and Blackthorn, which is one of their other titles. So that was kind of like Prince of Persia.
Okay.
So this is a really cool thing that they're doing. So what people are thinking is that they're giving Diablo 2 and its expansion a full remake as well, because that would make sense, because Diablo 2 was very, very, very popular for a very long time.
Diablo 2 to death, yeah.
Yeah, people still play Diablo 2. Let's just put it that way. I knew people that were playing Diablo 2 when I was in college, and the game was like, I don't know, 7 to 10 years old at that point. It was like really, it was up there in years, and they were still officially supporting it. Like they were coming out with bug updates and stuff like that.
There's a new update like this week. Like what?
Yeah, like content and stuff too. Weird. So yeah, it was that would be criminal if they didn't come out with some version of that. So I think that's coming. So I think that's a likely prediction. Here's another thing that I thought was pretty interesting. For Final Fight's 30th anniversary, fans have released a hack of Final Fight 3 to have a 3-player mod to allow you to play as all 3 characters at once.
Yeah,
which is really neat.
It's just the classics: Cody, Guy, and Hagar.
Cody, Guy, and Hagar. Yep.
Okay.
So all 3 characters can be on screen, and it is the arcade ROM that they modified.
Nice.
Maki
never gets any love. Maki was in like 2, and then like
SNK versus Capcom 2.
Capcom versus SNK 2. Yeah,
that's what I meant.
Like out of nowhere, like I was like, who is this character?
Yeah, none of the characters from Final Fight 3 get any love.
And she has the most difficult and I think the most damaging super in the game, because it's I think it's like an air grab. It's something really weird that like you're never gonna land.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to try this out, because apparently you could use this on real hardware too,
nice.
As long as you have the proper equipment for it. It was originally released on the CPS1 board, which is one of Capcom's hardware configurations for the arcade back in the day. Sure. They did CPS 2 and 3 all the way up to 3. So that's what a lot of those Dreamcast games were on. CPS 3 had like JoJo on it. Street Fighter 3 and all the different versions of 3 were on that. CPS 2 was like Street Fighter Alpha 1 through 3 and that kind of thing. It also had Super Street Fighter 2 on there as well.
What was that weird game like Red Earth or like Warzone? Was that 3?
Red Earth was the only CPS 3 game that never got a port.
Okay.
There were a couple of the sprites were ripped out and put in Capcom Fighting Evolution, but that was it.
That's right, yeah. Or was it... Yeah, okay, yeah.
No.
And you see these characters and you're like, who?
I'm right, Lotus. I'm right.
For a second I was thinking Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, but that's not Capcom, obviously.
Yeah, no, but same idea. Same idea.
Although that game had some weird shit, too. It's like, remember these guys from World Heroes? Remember Mars People? Like, everyone played Metal Slug, but still, Mars People just threw me off.
Yeah, that was actually in SVC Chaos. They had Mars People, I think, in that, too.
SVC?
SVC Chaos, yeah, had Marco at least in it.
They had like Mega Man 0.
Yeah, and he looked oddly realistic.
They had
it was
Violent
weird.
Ken, the best. Well, what I thought was cool is they actually had different Samurai Showdown characters. Like in Capcom versus SNK, they had Haomaru and Toto was from Art of Fighting. But in SVC, they had Kasumi, his daughter, and they had for Samurai Showdown, oh yeah, Capcom vs. SNK had Haomaru and Nakaruru, and SVC had Genjuro, I think, and Earthquake. It was just like, well, sure.
I am so excited for the new Samurai Showdown. I'm definitely going to buy that one. Well, I'm going to wait for reviews to come out for it because, buying a bad fighting game is always a bad.
I don't want to pay $60 for a bad fighting game.
Yeah, I'll buy it once I get confirmation that it's a good game worth playing.
I'll buy it even if I don't get confirmation that it's a good game, but like when it's like $20 or something.
Yeah.
I just want to have it.
So, really the only other stuff... Oh, there's one more thing here. Judgment had a bunch of little announcements released for it.
Just for reminder, what is Judgment?
Judgment is the new game by the Ryuga Kotoko studio, which is the Yakuza studio.
Mm-hmm.
So they officially named themselves the Ryuga Kotaku studio. Before they did not have a name, but everybody just called them the Yakuza team or the Ryuga Kotaku team.
Yeah.
But they are officially named that now.
Yeah, and Judgment is it's in the Yakuza universe, but I believe
correct.
You're a lawyer.
You are a lawyer or a judge. I think it's judge. There's. Maybe you're a lawyer. You go into a detective mode.
Yeah,
so
you have
kind
more
of
stuff
seems
to
like
do.
It kind of seems like a combination between Yakuza and like LA Noire.
Yeah, I just find it interesting because considering the universe, considering the Yakuza universe, there's probably so much shit that lawyers have to put up with all the time.
Well, also this involves the Japanese legal system, which is very difficult to be found innocent in, but they usually have tons of evidence if you are being tried.
Yeah.
So they typically have like an open and shut case on the person that they are trying. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very difficult for you to get out of it. But that also means that they also have a really good case against you. So there's give and take with that, because I'm sure a lot of people get away with a lot of shit because they don't have evidence of it.
Mm-hmm.
But they also the people that they do have on trial are very much confirmed.
Yeah, and
usually.
Not to mention though, in the Yakuza games, there are tons of like shady deals with cops, and even the good cops get mad because their higher ups are being bribed and stuff like that. So who knows? If you're a lawyer, then I guess stuff is actually going to trial. But I would imagine there's a whole set of shit you have to deal with that's not known to the public.
Yeah. And a couple other little things they announced that it does have a reversible cover.
Okay.
So it will include the Japanese cover art on the inside.
Fist of the North Star's reverse cover was
neat.
Good.
Yeah,
it's all those
just the comic
enemy
book
death
art
cries that are all shitballs and just ridiculous stuff like that.
It's really cool looking. And they're also including a sticker, but who cares?
I never got a lot of people love those.
It says here that'll include dual audio.
Yes,
so
I was just going to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's the first time Yakuza's done that.
Exactly. That was one I wanted to point out.
Yakuza has only ever done Yakuza has only ever been single audio up until Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise for the PS4. The only time Yakuza's ever been in English was when it was English only, which was the very first game on PS2 in America. Yeah, Yakuza's never done dual audio up until Fist of the North Star, which it's in the Yakuza vein, but it's not officially a Yakuza game. It just plays like it.
It's dual audio and dual sub too, so you can play any way you like.
Wholesale at first. I don't know about Lost Paradise for that one, but that's definitely new.
Yeah, so that's really cool. This studio is basically Sega's A-team now. I don't know of any other game that is any other type of game or anything else that Sega's putting out that is nearly this caliber, that is doing nearly this well.
Been consistently.
Was it Forces was the last one?
I think it was, Forces. The game was competent, but Mania just blows it out of the water.
Mania is just way cooler. But yeah, I do applaud their changing of the. I understand why it's named this in Japan, but I do applaud them changing the name to Judgment over here. It's called Judge Eyes. And there
are a lot of very like Japanese style. Like it makes more sense if you don't know Japanese, you just kind of hear it and you're like, it's a cool title, I guess.
It's called Judge Eyes because you have a detective mode, so you use your judge eyes to look vision. At things. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, there's still other terms that just make sense in Japanese that doesn't work in English, like the cop that Kiryu befriends in Yakuza 2 is called something like the Yakuza Eater or whatever, because she like devours like her competition or whatever, but like that just like Americans would get it, but they'd be like, come on. Yeah, it's like, no. So they called it Hunter in American version, which makes way more sense.
One more thing. I did not put this in the show notes, annoyingly. But boy, I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing this. NAS America announced a new Vita game to be released in the United States, for North America, called Udaware Rumano. Yes, Udaware
this
Romano.
Is one of those games that we've gotten a few of in the series already, right?
Correct. Prelude to the Fallen. It is a remake of the original game, apparently, in the series, which was a PSP game. Yeah. It was a PSP game.
Okay.
So we have gotten one of the Vita sequels, I think.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and so it is a visual novel combined with SRPG kind of series.
Like you're fighting on squares and stuff.
Yeah, the other ones were called Mask of Deception, and the other one was called Truth of something or other. Mask of Truth. Okay.
Yeah, the two masks. Yeah.
Yeah, so this one is apparently a remake of the first one, which was Mask of Deception.
I think the Mask games might have been on PS4 as well.
The second one, at least, was, I think.
Okay.
So, not my type of game, but apparently this series has its fans.
Yeah, I hear that it's quality stuff.
It's not a bad game.
I looked up a brief video of gameplay. I don't know if it's my thing, but, like, okay. Fair enough.
This may be one of the last original Vita games. So I definitely would keep your eye out for it. I don't think it's getting a physical release. NIS has stopped making physical releases for Vita. I think they've
stopped making cartridges or cards for Vita. So like at this point, if you want to make a release for Vita, you need to be able to get the cards to put them on. So,
well, I think Limited Run still has a couple of releases that they're putting
but they
out, right?
made that deal before. They're not going like, a new game, sign me up. Like I think that ship has sailed. It's just people are working with what they have at this point.
And get this, I think the release date for this new game is in 2020. So.
Oh wow.
So yeah, this will be similar to Trails in the Sky 2.
Wait, how are you gonna know that? You don't have 2020 vision.
Chirp. But yeah, apparently this is going to be one of the very last original games. There might be some port or some weird obscure port later on.
Well, not to mention like any other system, some fans gonna make a Vita game because they can. You know how they're still releasing shit on like the Lynx or whatever. It's like, you know what? I kind of like the Lynx growing up. I'll make a game for it. So like, there's still like the like Dreamcast games. People are making those now. Like you never know.
Yeah. Well, get this. I was playing the 3DS last night, and I turned it on because I wanted to play Corpse Party. I wanted to start up a new game of Corpse Party.
Oh boy, nothing will get you in a good mood like Corpse Party.
Right before bed. Oh boy.
Yeah.
What ended up happening was I went on the eShop because I was curious. And boy, is there some crap being released on that store right now. Like, Nintendo does not give a shit. I was taking a look. There are like 5 different versions of Snake being released by
on.
the same company, and the only difference between each version of the game is that the snake is a different color.
Nice. Collect them all, or else you'll miss out.
Yeah, like the last one was like electric blue.
Whatever,
the week
man,
before it was a
rainbow. If you don't play Red Snake, then you ain't playing shit.
It's just so goofy. Like, why is Nintendo letting this happen? Like, they don't have to let it happen. But yeah, I mean, I think Persona.
Vice. What Yann asked is this like this isn't free?
Is it a
so
free
you buy it?
No, you buy it. It's a buy game.
Buy Snake. It comes in your fucking Nokia flip phone.
I'm curious.
I think it's like $4, something like that.
$4.
That's outrageous.
That is outrageous.
Like I said, like
but it's in Rainbow.
Oh, you're right.
Oh,
like my shitty flip phone had Snake or Centipede or something on it. Like
before there were flip phones, those phones, old Nokia phones had Snake.
Yeah, like that's right. Yep, pretty much. Yep, and it just came with it.
So yeah, that it's a very dire place. I would very much bet that Persona Q2 is going to be the very, very last release of any note on the 3DS. I very much doubt anything else will come to it. I at least in America. I mean, there's always stragglers in Japan, but I can't imagine anything else coming to it. Yeah, but boy was I shocked, because Nintendo is like their gatekeeping is pretty stringent. Even they stop a lot of bullshit, and there's a lot of bullshit on there.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it just means they wholeheartedly endorse Snake.
Snake. Also, I also wanted to mention this little factoid. I forgot to bring this up last week as well. On the Xbox One, they released a new backward compatible game that I was pretty excited about. So, the Xbox 360 port of Marathon 2 got put on the Xbox One. So that's a really cool classic game that finally can be played on a modern system.
Is that the one where Dustin Hoffman is tortured with a dentist drill, the sequel?
No, that's Marathon Man 2.
Oh.
And it was safe.
And it was safe.
But yeah, I wanted to mention that because I found that out towards the end of the week last week. So Marathon Durandal, and its online functionality, if you want it, is now on Xbox One. So that's pretty cool. But I still recommend playing the original game. There are Windows ports of Marathon 1, 2, and 3 that work on current systems, so definitely seek those out. And for people that aren't in the know, those are Bungie's first-person shooters before Halo. Very similar to Doom, but with a lot more story. Good writing, too, I might add. So the last couple things I wanted to talk about are more general topics. First of all, I want to bring up Devil May Cry 5. Apparently, the game is very good from all people that have talked about it. It seems like people love the cutscenes. They think they're hilarious.
Well,
speaking of cutscenes, they included... How should I explain this? Like, cutscenes...
like the behind-the-scenes mocap
The behind-the-scenes... That's part of the DLC that comes with a special edition. So, like, one of the cutscenes was literally, like, them holding this figure and doing flips with it.
It's super good.
It's just funny.
It's like funny. Little kids making, like teenagers making their first movie, like that kind of thing.
They're pushing their little cart down a hallway, like they're running through cardboard bushes and shrubbery and stuff. It's like, it really is. It's like a play. It's really funny.
That's amazing. I'm excited to play this game, but I am woefully behind in this series. I haven't beaten any of them. I got pretty far in Devil May Cry 1. I think I got to the second Neo Angelo fight, something like that. I got the Ifrit gloves, I think is what they're called.
The fists?
Yeah, I got those back then, so I got reasonably far into the game, at least past the beginning, what you would call the beginning of the game. But the rest of them I have not kept up on, not because I didn't like them, but I always got distracted. Plus, these games have always, they've always really, they've always had a high level of skill needed to beat them. I've always found them difficult, especially the first game. I felt like the first major boss, who was that giant spider, was way too difficult.
Is notoriously difficult.
He's way too difficult for, and then the bosses after him are not as difficult as him by a long shot.
Devil May Cry 1 is like one of the harder ones in the series.
Yeah, so I never played 2 because apparently you don't need to play 2.
Bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, everybody universally agrees upon that, apparently.
I watched my friends play through 3 and 4. Those look pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw people play 4. I saw a bunch of footage of DMC, which DMC doesn't count now.
Well, the story didn't appeal to me at all, but the gameplay looks like the best it had ever been, like, at the time.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I always like stylish fighting games, like or action games like this. You know, I like the Ninja Gaiden games when those were being released. I played a good chunk of God Hand. I played a good chunk of Bayonetta 1. So I do like this type of game. It's just my perfectionist tendencies make me mad at them because they're very difficult to get like perfects and things on and to grind for like the best stuff.
I like being a perfectionist, but like I knew that I'm not putting up with this shit in these games. So like I played Bayonetta on just the easiest mode and just made it to the end credits, and that was good enough for me. And Revengeance I might have played on normal, and that game still gave me trouble.
Yeah, that was a very difficult game when I played it. And I played all the Devil May Cry, and I find Revengeance a little more difficult in terms of a particular mechanic that requires the slicing to be very
cut off their wrist or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, it was... I liked it, but it wasn't something I was particularly good at.
I really thought that game was going to be move compatible. It felt kind of like, I mean, I don't have a move, but it still felt weird to be like, no, you aim with the right stick. I was like, okay, I guess. Or you aim with the left stick and slash with the right. That felt bizarre.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to Okami, though. Like, when it came out originally, it felt like it was meant for, like, you know, later on for the Wii.
Yeah.
But you used the analog stick to slash and draw.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really just glad in general that the reception has been good, because this has been a long time coming for like a Japanese developed entry of the game, and I mean it's been a long time since DMC as well, but it's been especially long since Devil May Cry 4. Geez, that came out when we were in college, right, Lotus?
Yeah, that's right. I remember watching my friend Luminaire play it in college on the
10 years ago.
PS3 or 360, yeah.
Yeah, 10 years ago at this point, and I think DMC is like 5 years old at this point. So I'm glad that this has a good reception and that Capcom treated it right. Capcom's been knocking it out of the park.
They're on a roll this year.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about Resident Evil 2 Remake on Thursday, but they knocked it out of the park with that game apparently as well. So. I'm just really, really happy that they are treating their core series right, because I think they learned their lesson, because they had some major losses from Marvel vs. Capcom. Infinite, yeah.
Street Fighter. Yeah,
and Street Fighter has improved a fair amount to the point where I think people are coming around to it. But they also released a bunch of crap in the meantime. They released what was that really shitty Resident Evil game? What was that?
The one that like never
Mercenaries.
I know what you're talking about. Like Umbrella Corps.
Umbrella Corps. That's it. Yeah.
That one didn't make it to America physically. I think it was digitally only, and the player base died like. It was something insane. Yeah, it was like within the day. It was like ludicrous.
Yeah, and it was a really shitty game, and I think they learned their lesson from outsourcing a lot of their games.
Mm-hmm.
They also closed the studio that made the Dead Rising games. So, yeah, I think they learned their lesson that they can't manage effectively the teams that are outside of Japan, which I think is actually a good thing. I think they've tried multiple times to outsource these things, and it hasn't worked, and they've listened to fans about it. So I would hate to see Capcom be in the situation where they're not one of the major players in the industry anymore. And with these releases, they sure still are. They're AAA developers all the way. So I'm just glad that there's Capcom's still killing it with these things. Let me see what else here. You also have Captain Marvel coming out this week. Came out this week, yeah. Or early this week. So apparently a lot of people are saying that it's either really good or okay. That's the general consensus on it.
I've heard varying opinions. I don't think I've heard anyone say it's like awful, but then again, that would be quite a surprise coming from MCU.
They're never gonna have a straight up awful movie. Some people have said that about Thor 2, and I don't get it. I actually like Thor 2.
It is easily my least favorite of the MCU I've seen, because it's just so forgettable.
It's forgettable, but it's not bad.
No, it's not.
You know what I mean?
It's not bad, but just like, who gives a shit? Like, the dark elf from the dark planet wants to spread darkness, and I have no idea what his name is.
Yeah, I think that movie was more a way to get Thor and Loki to play off of each other.
The Thor and Loki dynamic was actually pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
The whole idea behind the movie, I was like, whatever.
That's actually why I like it. I like the banter between the two characters. It got even better, when Thor 3 came along. I really loved Thor 3. But Thor 3 is another beast altogether. Thor 3 is more like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie than it was like the early Thor movies. So I plan on going to see this the day after this recording, which is on Monday. I will report back on it, what I think of it. I'm probably going to say, it was a Marvel movie. Just kind of like I expect the same quality as like Doctor Strange or the second Ant-Man movie. I'm going to probably say that it's going to fall in line with those, just because they're really just stalling until we could get to the last Infinity War movie, which is what everybody really wants to see. It's cool that they're having a newly iconic character in the series, in the Marvel universe, be a main character, which is pretty cool. Captain Marvel. This version of Captain Marvel has only been around for a little while. Carol Danvers has been around for a long time, but in this current incarnation, she's only been around in a few years.
Miss Marvel has been around for a long time, but Captain Marvel is newer.
So yeah, I'll actually go over a quick funny thing that is happening here. So there's also Shazam, which is coming out next month. Do you know why that's funny?
Well, yeah, because the original 1940-something version of that character was called Captain Marvel.
Yes. So his actual name for a very long time was also Captain Marvel.
Yeah, he's actually Captain Marvel first. He's
Correct.
The original Captain Marvel.
So here's the way it happened. Captain Marvel was the DC one, Shazam, was originally part of Fawcett Comics, which is the same comics group that came out with Captain Marvel, Shazam, the Shazam version, Blue Beetle, and The Question. All three of those characters came from them. They folded in the 50s, I think, and DC bought them. And in the meantime, I think in the 70s, Marvel put out their own Captain Marvel, which is the namesake of this current character that is, the movie is coming out about. However, Carol Danvers used to be his sidekick, Miss Marvel. So, the original Captain Marvel was really cool. He actually switched place in reality with Rick Jones. Do you know about Rick Jones?
I don't believe so.
So it's actually really kind of funny. In Marvel Comics, he's one of the most important characters to the Marvel continuity, and he's not in any of the movies. So you'll know who he is once I explain it. He is the little kid, or he is the teenager in the back of his car that causes Bruce Banner to go out into the Gamma Bomb.
Oh, okay.
And become the Incredible Hulk. He after that became the Incredible Hulk sidekick, basically, and then eventually became the second Bucky. Before we had the Winter Soldier come back. And then he became the original Captain Marvel's kind of sidekick, because he would switch places with him. When I was a teenager, I actually really liked the newer incarnation where Rick Jones switched places with Captain Marvel's son, because the original Captain Marvel, the Marvel Captain Marvel, had actually iconically died from a version of cancer. He was one of the very first Marvel characters to actually die permanently, and also stayed dead. He's never come back. But there are other incarnations of him. But Carol Danvers is actually more, took over as Miss Marvel while Captain Marvel was dead. And during all of this, they made an agreement with DC Comics to where they could both use the name Captain Marvel. And DC eventually just changed his name to Shazam, because that's how everybody knew him.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, while Carol Danvers was on planet Earth, protecting everybody when Captain Marvel was dead, she had her powers leached away by Rogue, and that's why she could fly and has super strength in the comics and in the cartoon.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody knows Rogue as the person who can fly and is super strong and can absorb powers, but in her original incarnation, she could only absorb powers, and she would only do it temporarily. Like, she would touch you and knock you out, and then she would get the powers for a little while.
She almost killed Carol Danvers. She almost killed her.
She held on to Carol for way too long, and it put her in a coma, and Rogue actually absorbed the powers permanently.
Yeah, and Carol lost her powers because of it. She only recently regained them within the last 10 years. Rogue ironically kept her powers too, so they both kind of
there's two Captain Marvel level. I mean, I think Captain Marvel is more powerful ultimately, but Rogue is pretty damn strong. Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because anybody who watched the TV series growing up as a kid, when they watch the movie, they're like, "What the hell? She doesn't have her
she can't fly."
Yeah, she can't fly, and she doesn't have her super strength, which is kind of funny. That's how she's known as. But this is cool. She became very iconic. Ronda Rousey was a big fan of her when she was a big UFC. Combatant, I guess. So it's cool that both of these are being released. I'm always kind of wondering whether DC did this on purpose. They were like, "Oh, you're coming out with a Captain Marvel movie. Well, so will we." But I'm looking forward to both of them. I think Shazam has a lot more potential to be original, because it's a little kid becoming a superhero out of the blue. So there's a lot of comedy involved in that, I'm sure. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have for this week. How about you guys?
That put this all out at
Yeah, probably the only thing I want to add is that I don't know how many people really know DC's like Shazam. I'll just call him Shazam.
3.
Things easier.
3 people do.
3 people, perfect.
Yeah.
No, but like the thing with the previews is like you see him acting really goofy and everything, and he's like dancing around holding popcorn, and everyone's like, "Oh, what the fuck is this?" But like, what I think
he's supposed to be a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, he is a kid. Like his power is getting an adult's body and being like Superman, but he's actually a kid. So to see Shazam acting like a kid, it's like, what? This is so dissociative from Shazam. Like, no, he is a child. Like that would be why. It's basically the movie Big, except it's a comic book.
Yeah, no, he has the mind of a 12-year-old.
Yeah, like it's the movie Big if Tom Hanks could like be Superman.
Not only that, but that was always the case. He was a newsie in the original stories.
Mr. William Batson.
Yeah, I think he used to. He may have grown up since then. But
in his original incarnation, he's a little kid. That's it.
And that's what's compelling about him. That's why he's cool. He kind of looks.
Superman were more naive and was like, why don't we just stop the bad guys and da da da. He's a kid.
Yeah, he looks up to Superman a lot in those early stories. I particularly think that if you want to read a really good Shazam story, read Kingdom Come. Have you ever read Kingdom Come?
I barely touch DC.
Okay.
I haven't read comics since like the 90s.
Kingdom Come was fantastic. It was a series by Alex Ross, who's made all those really awesome, realistic-looking paintings.
His artwork is unbelievable.
Yeah. He did the art for it, and he did this alternate future of what DC would be like if all the current heavyweights were retiring, and then their progeny were taking over, maybe even like two lines of progeny down, like even like Nightwing's son would be like, the new superhero on the beat, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it was really dystopian, and like the old fart superheroes have to come back and fight the new guys because they weren't doing their job, and the new guys, they're all led by Shazam, and he's terrifying because he is literally the most powerful superhero on the planet because he is older and has trained.
Everyone else is old, but he was a kid from the beginning, so now he's a regular young adult. It's like, oh no.
And Superman's old, so Superman can't fight him.
Yeah.
And so he kicks Superman's ass. And it's terrifying. Like, you don't know what terrifying is until you see Superman crumble, and he like crumbles when he fights him.
Well, I gotta say, Miracle Man was pretty terrifying.
Oh, Miracle Man is
Miracle Boy.
Miracle Man is Captain Marvel, but like an evil version of him.
Yeah, Miracle Boy is like the scariest motherfucker.
Oh yeah. Kid Miracle Man. Yeah,
that's
Kid
what it
Miracle.
Was? Okay.
So I'll add this. There is a third ripoff of Superman called Miracle Man, or Marvel Man, actually, his original incarnation, but they changed his name to Miracle Man because, for obvious reasons, by yet a different comic book publisher. And Alan Moore wrote the revival of this back in the 80s. Of
course it would be Alan Moore. Like, I didn't know that, but, like, of course it was him.
Well, this was when he was really young, and this was just after Swamp Thing, I think, and so it might have been like before Watchmen even, and Neil Gaiman actually wrote the second part of it as well. It was probably his first big comic, but anyway, so in that he was basically almost like a ripoff of Shazam. So instead of saying Shazam, he says Kitoma, which is atomic backwards, and turns into Miracle Man. But what happens in this is Miracle Man had lost his powers for a very long time, and barely even remembered being Miracle Man because of like some amnesia. But Kid Miracle Man, his sidekick, had actually been had retained his memory, and had actually become an adult in his superpowered state, and was secretly in his superpowered state the whole time. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous.
So actually, he was still a little kid. Like, if he were to have changed back, he turns back into a little boy, even though he has like he's been around for like 50 years in this universe. It's just craziness. Yeah. Really, really craziness. You should read those, because Marvel republished those stories recently. It's under Miracle Man. Definitely read those. But yeah, good stuff. But we should move on and end the show for tonight, unless anybody else has anything to say.
I think I'm good.
Okay. That is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. Also, give some love to Yann here. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. We'll go over some nice Resident Evil stuff this week. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, and some piece of crap.
Stomper, Clomper, some piece of crap.
Twitter, Battle.net, and Switch.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you're interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, currently working on The Suffering, and even getting in on a Discord chat with me and other patrons, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And
Yann, can we find you anywhere?
Could you give a little plug if you like?
Sure. You can. I don't really have much, actually, to be honest.
Well, you play a lot on Final Fantasy, don't you?
Final Fantasy 14.
Yep. What's your name on that?
Yann Tong.
There you go.
Name is Yann Tong.
Perfection.
Very original name.
You can pick up a hot dog with her last name. Remember when Mr. Ryu made that picture of just your head and a pair of tongs?
That's so stupid.
When he was making pictures of our last names.
Yeah. With
Mine just have
visual puns.
What was yours? I forget.
I actually don't remember, unfortunately.
I remember Pyro's, which was very funny. But anyway, we will catch you on Thursday, everybody.
Until next time, everyone.